You're watching News 12 on your side.
From the station that's on your side, breaking news.
The breaking news, Richmond County deputies currently on the scene of an accident with injuries on Washington Road at I-20 westbound. You can see a fire truck, a ladder truck here overturned on that ramp. We're working to gather more information about this wreck. In the meantime, you may want to stay away from this area. We're seeing heavy traffic in both directions. We'll keep you updated as we learn more with this accident. Well, Martin Luther King celebrations all throughout our area, honoring the man who was at the forefront of civil rights. This was at Abilene Baptist Church this morning. It hosted the 36th annual Global Race Unity Memorial Celebration in honor of Dr. King. Organizers say this year's theme is overcoming oppression without violence. It featured Reverend Clarence Moore from Good Shepherd Baptist Church as the guest speaker. Several awards were handed out to businesses and organizations that make an impact on our community. There was also a moment when 20-year-old Tyreek Robinson was remembered. Before his death, he was the youngest member-elect of the Richmond County Board of Education. From there, those who live in Grovetown came together to remember what Martin Luther King Jr. stood for. Councilwoman Coretta Smith put on the event. Several awards were given out to those who make an impact in the Grovetown community. One group Smith handed a community award to was the Macedonia Church of Grovetown for their food giveaways.
That's what we need. We need good, strong leaders that are modeling healthy, wholesome MLK leadership.
And there was also live music at that event. From here to South Carolina State House, the annual King Day at the Dome was held this morning. It's the first time in a few years the event was put together by the South Carolina NAACP. It was held in person. South Carolina State House reporter Mary Green reports.
King Day at the Dome was held here Monday in person for the first time since the pandemic started. In line with this year's theme, speakers urged South Carolinians to look to history as their teacher.
When we see the water drawing back, we cannot fall asleep, we cannot stand still, we cannot be apathetic, we cannot wait till the presidential election. We must rally our people and our troops now. We must register people to vote. We must act now.
Brenda Murphy, president of the NAACP South Carolina State Conference, urged South Carolinians to continue fighting forward toward justice, saying they can't fall asleep. Other speakers encouraged them to get to the polls, saying not voting has consequences. Last November, several black state representatives lost their seats at the State House. A federal court also recently struck down South Carolina's redrawn congressional map for being racially gerrymandered after the NAACP sued. Congressman Benny Thompson of Mississippi, who chaired the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection, says South Carolina is on its way toward carrying on Dr. King's work.
I'm excited to come here to see that people are still about the business of fighting and resisting injustice anywhere.
The day's event started with a prayer service at Columbia Zion Baptist Church before the group marched here to State House grounds for the rally. Their march was along the same path that hundreds of African American students took in 1961 at the height of the civil rights movement to protest segregation. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
Turning to weather now, we've got First Alert meteorologist Mikkel Hannah Harding with us. And Mikkel, you say rain in the full forecast. Thanks, Mikkel. There were ceremonies around the country to honor the life of Dr. King. Nicole D'Antonio reports from Washington.
At Chicago's Parkside Academy, volunteers gathered to paint inspirational murals on the walls of the school. In the nation's capital, Vice President Kamala Harris joined students at George Washington University to assemble academic kits for young children. Philadelphia honored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, ringing the Liberty Bell. The city of Houston held its annual parade. In Los Angeles, Denver, and San Antonio, residents filled the streets for marches.
We have a long way to go, but we've made so much change already. Diversity, equity, inclusion, that's really the future of what we're marching for today, and that's Dr. King's legacy.
2023 marks 60 years since the March on Washington and Dr. King's speech demanding civil rights, jobs, and freedom. He helped drive the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Here at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C., people have been coming all day to take photos and reflect on what the civil rights leader means to them.
Just like a sense of like oneness, I guess for me, in unity to see so many people here at the same time.
At an MLK breakfast hosted by Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network, President Biden highlighted his economic and infrastructure policies that he says are helping to make Dr. King's dream a reality.
To go forward, we need to go together. So let's be guided by Dr. King's light.
Sunday, the president visited the Atlanta church where King was pastor and became the first sitting president to speak at the service. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
And yesterday was Dr. King's birthday. He would have been 94 years old. He was killed in 1968 at the age of 39. Well, it's the murder trial that's been highly anticipated with its own docu-series. In just a week, former Low Country attorney Alec Murdaugh's trial is set to get underway. Murdaugh is charged with murdering his wife Maggie and his youngest son Paul. Both were found shot to death at the family's hunting property in Colleton County on June 7th of 2021. Back in July of last year, Murdaugh pleaded not guilty to state charges of the murders and was denied bond. For the first time, the family of a 5-year-old who was missing for weeks is speaking out. Aspen Jeter's mother, Crystal Jumper, was killed Thanksgiving Day, and Aspen was nowhere to be found. Police found her 2 weeks later with her father in Virginia. He's been arrested and charged with murdering her mother. Ashley Jones picks up the story from here.
Aspen Jeter is back home in Orangeburg County, and the road to recovery is just beginning.
It's been a journey. We just got phone calls that come get her, so we didn't hesitate. Got her, and it was, we couldn't ask for anything better.
The Virginia and South Carolina Departments of Social Services made the arrangements to bring Aspen home. Now her mother's side of the family is caring for her. Her uncle Paulus, her cousin Stephen, and his wife Katie made the 5-hour trip to Danville, Virginia to bring Aspen home.
It was a very long ride up there. I couldn't wait to get there. It was emotional, to get her. And very sweet to have her back.
Without going into specifics, the Jumper family says Aspen's health was not in the best condition when she was found with her father, Antar Jeter. They say she spent 2 weeks in the hospital.
Night and day difference. Night and day since we got her, since she's been in the hospital and home now. Night and day difference. She's more alert and just like that right there. Before she wasn't doing that. She was just sitting there.
They say Aspen is currently on a feeding tube. Stephen Jumper says he had to stop working because Aspen's daily therapy sessions and hospital visits have become a 24-hour job.
It's a big change. Yes, financially and mentally, it's been draining, but it's worth it.
As for Antar Jeter, he's in custody in Virginia waiting for his extradition hearing.
I guess we all fool people.
The Jumper family says Aspen doesn't seem to be fully aware of what may have transpired between her mother and father. They say their main concern is getting Aspen healthy again.
Hopefully one.
And the family is working on making visitation arrangements with Jeter's family. Well, a Georgia community filled with volunteers worked all day to help clean up what 2 tornadoes destroyed. Coming up, why it's going to take a lot of sweat and tears to get Griffin back to normal. Mikkel?
And we are tracking rain chances in the forecast coming in tomorrow and sticking around into your Thursday as well. We'll talk more about that coming up.
How virtual race truck drivers across America are looking to raise awareness for a local cause. That's coming up all new on News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Time money possible. Well, taking you back out live here, this is Washington Road. This is an accident along Washington Road at I-20 westbound. Richmond County deputies are currently there. You can see that the Augusta Fire ladder truck rolled onto its side there. We're working to find out if there are any injuries and how this wreck happened. In the meantime, we're told that you may want to stay away from this area. Traffic is extremely backed up. It's very congested over there. Well, community is coming together to help clean up an area hit hard by last week's severe weather. The National Radar Service says at least 7 radar-confirmed tornadoes touched down throughout Georgia. Here in Griffin, this is the aftermath of 2 tornadoes, an EF3 and an EF2 touching down. 18 people were reported injured. Luckily, there were no deaths in this area. Volunteers from the Home Depot Foundation from both corporate and Griffin spent the day helping families rebuild what Mother Nature took away from them. And checking in with First Alert meteorologist Mikkel Hannah Harding. Mikkel, we've had this for 2 weeks in a row. Hopefully we're not seeing this for a third coming up.
Well, yes.
Changed his report, but a woman remains in prison for murder. Next, flawed forensics.
Start something new today in Waynesboro.
Save up to $6,400 on Ram 1500 Bitcoin Quadcast, as low as $750 a month. Take the short drive down 25.
Shop 24/7 at goodtogowaynesboro.com.
I'm attorney Ken.
Over 3,000 off new Jeep Compass Latitudes in Waynesboro. Just $500 a month.
Best selection, lowest prices, and friendly service.
The Start Something New sales event.
A woman serving life in prison for murdering her child is asking a judge to dismiss her case. This after new evidence surfaced from a surprising source. It's evidence so compelling, one juror says he would have changed his verdict. Andy Piriotti explains how a medical diagnosis, now believed unreliable, has helped put thousands of people in prison for years.
Penny Warner answers the phone from someone who has not seen freedom in 25 years.
This call is from a corrections facility and is subject to monitoring and recording.
On the other end of the line, her niece, Tasha Mercedes Shelby, calling from inside Central Mississippi Correctional. After a jury convicted Tasha of murdering her 2-year-old stepson, Brian Thompson, at this trailer park in this bedroom in Biloxi, Mississippi in 1997.
I mean, it was just absolute shock. And she was so scared.
According to police records, Tasha told investigators, "I was asleep in my bedroom, heard a big thump, and found Brian was lying on the floor, having what looked like a seizure." But the state's medical examiner ruled Brian's death a homicide, telling the jury the boy died from blunt force injuries to his head, caused by shaking. Prosecutors called it shaken baby syndrome. The jury sentenced Tasha to life in prison without parole.
The jury was relying on the wrong information.
Valina Beatty is Tasha's attorney. Earlier this year, she filed a petition in federal court asking a judge to dismiss the case and set Tasha free after uncovering new evidence from an unlikely source. Dr. Leroy Redden, the same medical examiner who ruled the child's death a homicide, changed the death certificate to an accident in 2018, 18 years later.
Well, we thought, they're going to let her go. There was no homicide. You can't keep someone in prison if there's no homicide. And they're not letting her go.
While Tasha waits for a new judge to rule on her case, we've uncovered at least 21 people charged with crimes connected to shaken baby syndrome diagnoses that have had their convictions overturned since 2019. Why were most of their charges reversed? Evolving science, many experts say, proves the diagnosis is unreliable. The twists and turns don't end there. We've uncovered the medical examiner isn't the only person involved in the original trial who believes mistakes were made.
I think about that too.
Enter Daniel Mullen, juror number 42. He's one of the original jurors who not only voted to convict Tasha, but wanted to see her sentenced to death.
The first time around, it was unanimous vote that she was guilty.
2 decades later, Daniel now believes Tasha is innocent after learning about Brian's disorder and the family's history of seizures. According to court records, Brian also had an appointment scheduled with a neurologist before his death that he never made.
Knowing what you know today, would you have convicted her? I never would have convicted her. Never. That night, I laid in my chair half the night thinking about it. What were you thinking? If we made a mistake. It cost that girl 22 years of her life.
The district attorney's office in Biloxi, which originally prosecuted Tasha, declined to comment on the case. So did Mississippi's attorney general, currently fighting her appeal. Tasha's fate has two possibilities: the state's governor granting her clemency, or the federal judge who is deciding whether to grant her release or keep her in prison. Mikkel?
We are tracking rainfall chances pushing through for the middle to end of the week. We'll talk more about that coming up one last time in the forecast.
It's a brand new year. Time to start with Milton Ruben Toyota. Oh yeah, fresh inventory is arriving daily. Lease a new 2023 Tacoma SR5 for $299 a month. Milton Ruben Toyota.
Every year in cooling, we have the solution to keep you comfortable. Call us today. All weather heating and cooling, where we provide comfort and quality that you can feel.
It's a brand new year. Time to start with Milton Ruben Toyota. Oh yeah, fresh inventory is arriving daily. Lease a new 2023 Toyota 4Runner SR5 for $379 a month. Milton Ruben Toyota.
Taking you back out live to an accident along Washington Road at I-20 westbound. Richmond County deputies are currently there. You can see an Augusta Fire Department ladder truck rolled over on its side. We're working to find out more details of any injuries, how this crash happened. Right now, you are urged to seek a different route. Traffic very congested in the area. Mikkel?
Well, thank you for that update, Will. We are looking at our next cold front taking shape across the city.
Reduction event at Taylor Hyundai, where you get a deal you'll feel good about.
What makes the Eichholz Law Firm different?
For starters, we've served this community for over 45 years.
And we know that every client is unique. We consider you friends, neighbors, and family.
We prove it in the way we fight tirelessly for your justice.
Let the Eichholz Law Firm fight for the justice you deserve.
Tonight on a